Hiya Ken, lovely to finally meet up with you and do some work on your game. Just a quick recap on the key points that we covered over at the studio during your session. The first one was a slight tweak with your setup. What we saw here at the start of your session was you had a little bit of side bend, let's make that a bit bigger, towards the target at P1, your address position. And what we're saying is within the model or within the system, we're allowed to have a little bit of side bend away from the target, maybe 2 degrees. Both centres lined up on top of one another would be fine, but certainly we wouldn't want to see too much of the upper centre drifting out in front of the lower centre. It's something that a lot of DIYers, if you will, for want of a better term, we see them do, partly because they're trying to create a side bend to the left. What we'd like to see is a more appropriate setup like we see here on the next swing along, and using the 10-word template idea, what we suggested, instead of weight forward being the first 2 words, for you we're going to use hips forward. And as you do that, you see that you start to create a little bit of side bend away from the target, not a lot, just a degree or 2. So we've just got a little bit of side bend to the right at P1 away from the target. That's also started to soften up this right arm, which is going to make it easier for you to load things during the takeaway. So first thing we changed was we just pushed the hips forward a little bit at setup. The next thing we talked about was the positioning of your arms at the top. The first thing that you brought up really was when you sort of started taking the club back, there was a tendency to just get this moved on a little bit. Bit of a move off the ball there initially. Part of that because that right arm won't fold, it's too straight, so we've almost got to move to allow us to then start the arms to swing. So we're drifting off the ball a fraction, and then there's a tremendous bending of the arms at the top, so we're flexing the elbows too much. So the next piece of advice for you was, after pushing the hips forward, try and feel like we're going to keep the arms as straight as we can. So that little move off it, there's a little bump there, a little bit of residual stuff from the way you'd normally swing, but it's certainly diminished a little bit from the swing before. The right arm in a better position to load properly. And again, you can see though the radius of the swing started to be maintained and preserved much better. When I say mid-session, only sort of 3 swings or 3 film swings later. So we've got a little bit more side bend to the right, created by pushing the hips forward, followed by loading the arms in a different manner. We're trying to keep, stopping the arms loading. We're trying to keep the arms as straight as we can for as long as we can. Now you can see there's a little bit of give in the arms, but that's not a major issue. We can tidy that up during your next visit. One of the things that we get now is we get the left arm straightening, the wrist getting dumped quite fast as we're coming into impact, so there's not a great deal of lag being preserved, and as a result the butt of the club at delivery is a little bit too far back, which causes us low point problems, and which in turn results in sort of it's difficult to control the path of the club with any consistency. So during the downswing now, we start to see that the wrists still get dumped a little bit too soon. A much tidier move. Head's not dropping back quite as much, but the release point is still a long way back. Because the radius has been preserved, we don't need to throw the club away, if you will, on the way down, but we're still going to do it because we've done it for quite a while. Low point on that one, just a fraction back. As with that one. Side bend increasing as the hips push forward. But what we're going to try and do next is just try and control, beautiful move through the ball, trying to tighten the radius of the swing. So we're trying to improve that delivery position and reduce the tendency to just want to throw the club head at the ball. So what we've done here is we've put the weight forward at setup, we've put the handle forward at setup, we've introduced a cone at the back of the ball. You can use a towel folded up, you can use a head cover. Just as a drill, just punching some balls forward here, trying to get the butt of the club to become more advanced, trying to tighten the radius of the swing, keeping the weight and the handle leading, and as a result controlling low point in a much more appropriate manner. And a lot of this is just coming in, beg your pardon, becoming more familiar with the idea of maintaining the radius on the way back and then controlling or tightening that radius more on the way down. So we want to see a tighter position at delivery in regards to where the butt of the club is in relation to the ball. So we just want it a little bit more advanced than what we would normally see with yourself, with the butt of the club is almost outside the stance line. So tightening the radius of the swing during the downswing. The other thing that we touched on that you might want to consider as well related to your backswing, what we'd like to see happen in the early part of the swing is for you to take the club back so that there's zero rotation of the club face or the back of the left hand from setup, P1, to when the shaft's parallel with the ground, P2. You can see when you do this, the club face stays very square to the arc of the swing, and the tilts in the shoulders, the hips and the knees works very, very well. When it comes to the shot itself, one of the tendencies that you've sort of developed over the years is to just rotate the club a little bit too fast. So the back of the left hand loads a little bit too soon. There's a lifting of the handle, which is what's visible in most players who sort of who load accumulator 3 too soon, and as a result the shaft works underplaying too much. So there's a marked difference between the position you're demonstrating here in your rehearsal, which is very, very good, very much on plane and square to the plane, compared to the position we get into when we come to actually hit the golf ball. Having said that, there's a lot of good things in there. You can see the tilts are compromised when you roll the club behind you too much. Notice the shoulders aren't turning down on a tilted angle quite as much as they should be. And then various compensations need to ensue during the downswing. You do make it work very well. It's a great move through the ball. So there's a lot of positives there. Tucking and extending, great control of things. I'd like to just tighten things up as we progress with the sessions. But for now, if we can keep the hips pushed forward, control the radius of the swing on the way back by not over flexing the elbows, tighten up the radius of the swing on the way down by controlling the low point using the cone and the other drills that we discussed in the session, and also spend a little bit of time appreciating what the back of the left hand should do during the takeaway. So no rotation of the back of the left hand from P1 to P2. Great session. Look forward to seeing how things progress. Hope you had a safe journey home, and I hope you're enjoying the literature and video that I loaded onto your memory disk. Good luck with it, and I look forward to working with you again soon. Well done.